What did Caiaphas unknowingly do in John 11? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of John on Walking Through the Bible.
His word, the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to John chapter 11. We're going to read verses 45 to 57. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So John chapter 11, beginning at verse 45. Then many of the Jews who had come to Mary and had seen the things Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went away to the Pharisees and told them the things Jesus did. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered a council and said, "What shall we do? For this man works many signs. If we let him alone like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and nation." And one of them, Caiaphas, being high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and not that the whole nation should perish." Now this he did not say on his own authority, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for that nation only, but also that he would gather together in one the children of God who were scattered abroad. Then from that day on they plotted to put him to death. Therefore Jesus no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there into the country near the wilderness to a city called Ephraim, and there remained with his disciples. And the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went from the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then they sought Jesus and spoke among themselves as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast?" Now both the chief priests and Pharisees had given a command that if anyone knew where he was, he should report it, that they might seize him. In our last lesson, we had Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. In doing so, Jesus proved in a physical sense that he was the resurrection and the life, and that he could provide physical life to one who had been dead. In a few short weeks, he would prove the spiritual part of this statement through his resurrection, that he could also provide spiritual resurrection from sin. Now, because Jesus had allowed Lazarus to be dead for 4 days, there was no denying that Lazarus was really dead, for his body would have begun the decomposition process by then. So there could be no denying the miracle. And in truth, many of the people who were there with Mary and Martha did believe in Jesus after he raised Lazarus from the dead. In fact, many of these people would accompany him to Jerusalem for his triumphal entry in chapter 12. However, not all who saw Lazarus raised from the dead believed, for some went and told the Pharisees what had happened in order to get their opinion on things. The Pharisees had been butting heads with Jesus every time he came to or near Jerusalem because they didn't believe him and did not appreciate the following that Jesus was gathering. Yet the resurrection of Lazarus was one of those signs that just couldn't have really been refuted. They could accuse the blind man of John 9 of only faking his blindness. They could have even accused the lame man of John 5 of faking his lameness. You can't accuse a dead man of faking his deadness. And so this presented a problem, resulting in the Pharisees gathering a council together to discuss the matter. Their worry was that since they couldn't refute the signs, and in truth really couldn't refute the other signs either, that the Romans would come in and take away their place and their nation. This really shows us the actual motivations of the Pharisees. It is not to determine truth and develop faith in God. It was pure political power and wealth. If Jesus didn't have such a following, then I doubt the Pharisees would have taken such notice. But since he threatened their status among the people, so much so that they thought the Romans would come and remove them and perhaps take full control over the nation, they took this situation very seriously. It is ironic that they thought killing Jesus would keep them in their place and keep the Romans from completely taking over. However, the opposite turned out to be true. By killing Jesus, the gospel spread throughout the empire. The unbelieving Jews who missed identifying their Messiah rebelled against Rome in 70 AD, causing Rome to destroy Jerusalem and to completely take over Palestine. Caiaphas, who was the high priest that year, got up and told them that those in attendance know nothing, nor do they consider that it is expedient for them that one man should die for the people. Now Caiaphas had no idea the true meaning of those words. He likely thought that they meant that Jesus would die so that the nation, as the Pharisees knew it, would be saved from a Roman takeover. However, he was actually prophesying that Jesus' death would have an atoning quality to it, in that Jesus would die for the sins of the nation, the Jews, and not only them, but for the sins of all those scattered abroad, the Gentiles. In allowing Caiaphas to prophesy, we find that, like in our study in Numbers with Balaam, God uses evil people to accomplish his purpose. Here he used Caiaphas to prophesy even if Caiaphas was unaware. It was from that day on that the Pharisees plotted to put Jesus to death. And like always, because his time was not yet, Jesus withdrew this time to a city called Ephraim. We're not exactly sure which city this is, but it's near the wilderness, meaning it is likely in Samaria or Perea, where Jesus was before. And so, harmonizing with the other Gospels, in between now and the time he returned to Jerusalem for the final time before his death, we would see Jesus heal the 10 lepers in Luke 17, teach the parables of the unjust judge and the Pharisee and publican in Luke 18, spar with the Pharisees over divorce and remarriage in Matthew 19, teach the rich young ruler in Matthew 19, heal the blind man near Jericho in Matthew 20, and encounter Zacchaeus in Luke 19 before teaching the parable of the minas at the end of Luke 19. At the Passover time, though, he would return to Jerusalem, where we know he will be killed. In fact, the Pharisees were counting on his return, and so decreed that if anyone knew where he was, they should report it, so that they might seize him. Perhaps it is this edict that caught the ear of Judas Iscariot, causing him to go out and plan to betray Jesus. We'll pick up with Jesus back in Bethany, Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of John chapter 12, verses 1 to 11, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.